Bleach won the 50th Shogakukan Award in 2004 for excellence in shonen storytelling, which is rare for a Jump title. Usually, Shogakukan honors are a home game award for their magazines like Weekly Shonen Sunday, so Bleach competing outside the Jump sphere, it was an uphill battle, but it won, which puts Bleach on a limited list of rare Jump titles like Slam Dunk and Yu Yu Hakusho, which contrary to belief, did not inspire Bleach. The award-winning formula of Bleach has ingredients from Dragon Ball, Gegege No Kitaro, but the broth, the base that brings it all together, well, that comes from Bunkai and Cosmos are written with so much spectacle that the power systems become the cherry on top for both Saint Seiya and Bleach. Burning your Cosmo or activating your Bunkai are in spirit the exact same process. Both require the hero to draw strength directly from their own identity. They become more powerful only after confronting difficult truths, emotional walls, and personal shortcomings. Kurumada established Cosmo as a miniature universe. Since each zodiac is comprised of a star alignment, burning that zodiac sign means burning the Cosmo you are personally connected with. A saint cannot reach the highest tiers of combat through physical conditioning alone. They must tap into the emotional core of their soul. For example, Dragon Saint Shiryu burns his Cosmo to reach the seventh sense by pulling from his emotional bonds, his physical suffering, and his devotion to his duty. As his cloth armor shatters and his body breaks down, the magnitude of his emotions dictates the scale of his Cosmo. Kubo uses this system, transforming Cosmo and the Seventh Sense into Bunkai, using the friction from the internal struggle of the Eightfold Path in Buddhism to build a system around the Zanpakuto. A Soul Reaper imprints their unique soul onto the steel over years of continuous training. Achieving Shikai and unlocking Bunkai requires an intensely intimate conversation with the self. A Soul Reaper must commune with their Zanpakuto spirit because that entity is a direct reflection of their own trauma, fears, and desires. Bunkai calls out the true name to manifest the spirit of the sword, while the Seventh Sense is the true essence of the Cosmo. I genuinely love how Kurumada and Kubo base power around character growth. A warrior cannot get stronger in either universe without evolving as a person. The emotional weight of every clash skyrockets because the combat is never just physical. When captains use Bunkai against each other or Gold Saints burn their Cosmo, they are more than just moments to show off their power. You understand that two extremely powerful warriors are at a deep ideological crossroad, and those ideologies are shaped by their specific experiences and trauma. Because there is so much emotion built into the power structure of Saint Seiya and Bleach, it naturally transfers over into how Kurumada and Kubo present their characters and build conflict. Saint Seiya and Bleach both feature a large, wide expanding cast of characters with various backstories and interconnections. A direct line from the 13 Gold Saints of the Zodiac to Kubo building his world around the 13 Buddhas of Shingon Buddhist funeral rites can be traced to each other. But when you have a cast this large, how do you manage it? Kurumada was one of the godfathers of emotionally driven protagonists in Jump. In so many series aimed at the shonen demographic, mothers are completely left out. The story usually focuses on the son trying to win his father's approval and eventually surpassing him to build his own legacy. Both Ichigo and Seiya embrace their emotions. They understand their vulnerabilities. They know that no matter how gifted they are, the world is still more powerful. Seiya grew up as an orphan, separated from his sister. Every single battle he fought was driven by his desire to find her again. Ichigo lost his mom at a very young age and witnessed her death firsthand. He did not let fear consume him due to things he could not control. Instead, he chose to become a protector for everyone he loved. Seiya and Ichigo share the trait that their power is for their closest loved ones. The fate of the world and keeping it safe is just a byproduct of wanting their friends and family to be safe. Seiya and Ichigo are the magnetic force that pulls everyone around them in. As you invest into their stories and become absorbed with their growth, Kurumada and Kubo start to plant other characters like flowers in a garden. They water these stories with emotions and important connections that act as the glue that connect them to the main protagonist. For example, think about Orihime choosing Isshin's clinic when her brother was dying. Her choice united her with Ichigo forever. Orihime and Ichigo's connection through tragedy and death is similar to how Seiya becomes connected to Athena. Just like Orihime was rescued by her brother, a young Sarikito, the future Athena, was rescued from sanctuary by the Gold Saint of Sagittarius, Aeolus. He took her to Earth where he was found by Mitsumaru Kido as he was dying. Kido took in baby Athena and eventually adopted Seiya and the other boys, linking them together as Seiya becomes Athena's most reliable saint. But it goes even deeper and more direct when connecting Saint Seiya and Bleach. Moving past character connections, Saint Seiya's influence over Bleach shines brightest in the award-winning Soul Society arc. The Soul Society arc is an evolution of Saint Seiya's Sanctuary arc. The military rank of the Shinigami and Saints are in turmoil due to the fate of a girl. In Bleach, it's Rukia, and in Saint Seiya, it's Sarikito, the reincarnation of Athena. The Sanctuary arc and Soul Society arc are both anchored by a group of heroes choosing to defy divine law and order for personal reasons to save Saori, who is now Athena, or Rukia from death. During the events of Saint Seiya, Athena's impending death at Sanctuary is shown as a countdown represented by a golden arrow piercing her chest and a clock tower set ablaze. If the clock tower burns out, she dies. Athena's fate adds friction between the Gold Saints who answer to the Pope. They are conflicted about the right thing to do. Saving Athena is their saintly duty, but the Pope is the ultimate authority. The setup Kurumada uses to create turmoil between the Sanctuary is exactly how Kubo drags us into Soul Society. Rukia is sentenced to die by the flaming Soyoko blade, which mirrors the burning clock tower. Her execution forces the Shinigami captains to fracture, creating infighting up and down the military chain. All the while, Athena and Rukia's deaths are just large plays in a game where they are merely pawns. Athena holds the divine life force needed to rule the earth. Rukia holds the Kogiku hidden within her spiritual body. The fate of the world is based on what can be removed from their physical forms. Ultimately, those who are the most powerful, the captains and Gold Saints, are not effective at saving Rukia or Athena. This is due to manipulation, misplaced loyalty, and a strict system with inflexible rules. There is constant infighting that prevents unification and keeps them from breaking down the walls of deception. This infighting isn't just a waste of time to show off cool powers like Cosmos or Bunkai. While it's evident that these warriors are powerful, the story asks a more important question. With a life on the line, where do your loyalties and priorities truly fall? What are you willing to break? For example, Gold Saint Aquarius Cayman is fighting his student, Cygnus Yoga, who Rukia is based on. Cayman sinks the ship containing Yoga's deceased mother deep into the frozen ocean abyss to permanently sever his pupil's emotional attachments. He believes a true warrior must discard all personal sentiment to reach absolute zero of the seventh sense. This strength through tough love and law and order is exactly how Byakuya Kuchiki operated under the exact same philosophy in Bleach. He actively suppressed his own immense grief over his late wife Isana to enforce the laws of the Serite. Byakuya stands fully prepared to execute his adopted sister Rukia just to maintain absolute military order. When Yoga, who also doubles as an inspiration for Renji Abarai, strikes back against Camus and Renji against Byakuya, the fights are logical and surgical, yet driven by wild emotional passion. The end results in the displays of commitment by their pupils force Camus and Byakuya to realize that their emotional detachment is a massive flaw. Byakuya and Camus eventually come to terms with the corruption in the Sanctuary and the Soul Society. They remember the human connections that made them who they are and realize why they tried to desperately erase them in the first place. Another strong Saint Seiya and Bleach connection is the conflict between head captain Genryosai Yamamoto and the immovable law of Soul Society and his students Shunsui and Ukitake. Yamamoto views the execution of Rukia as an undeniable necessity to maintain order. He personally trained Shusui and Ukitake like his own sons. Yet, when they destroy the execution stand and show they had been planning this from the start, Yamamoto prepares to fight his students without hesitation. Their clash mirrors how the oldest and wisest Gold Saints handle the corruption infecting the Sanctuary. Libra Doko is the oldest living saint. He knows the Pope is evil and actively refuses to follow orders from the capital. Aries Mu also figures out the truth and openly defies the Pope. This is very similar to Yorichi Shihon, the head of the most powerful noble family in Bleach. She trained the Ryoka and helped Ichigo access his Bunkai. Her role in preparing the heroes is a direct reflection of Gold Saint Aries Mu repairing the damaged cloths of the Bronze Saints. These veterans saw the danger of blindly following the Pope. That blind obedience was the same issue with the captains following orders of Central 46. Both governing bodies had been corrupted by a traitor from within. In Bleach, it was Aizen Sosuke, a character who was directly based on Gold Saint Gemeni Saga. Gold Saint Gemeni Saga and Aizen are architects of manipulation and destruction. Aizen takes over Central 46. He murders them. He controls the Hell Butterflies that control the Shinigami. This is a play right out of Saga's book. He murdered the Pope and took over his identity, gaining control over Sanctuary. Saga and Aizen both possess abilities that allow them to manipulate reality and the perceptions of those around them. Genryo Malkin, also known as Demon Emperor Fist, is a mind control technique that turns its victims into mindless puppets. This is one of the most powerful techniques in Saint Seiya, and was the primary tool Gemini Saga used to rise to power and fool the entire Sanctuary. Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu is the evolution of Genro Malkin. Kyoka Suigetsu was used in a multi-decade plot that saw Aizen using stand-ins as a replacement, lying about the true nature of his sword and putting everyone who gazed upon it at a disadvantage he had complete control over. Saga and Aizen even share inspiration in their choice of accomplices. Saga surrounds himself with Gold Saints like Cancer Death Mask and Pisces Aphrodite. Both Death Mask and Aphrodite are fully aware that the Pope is corrupt and knows exactly what Saga has done and has taken his place. They follow him anyway because they firmly believe might makes right. This is what brought Tozen and Gin under Aizen. Tozen follows Aizen out of a personal sense of justice born from the murder of his friend Kakiao. Through Aizen's power, he will walk the path of least bloodshed. Meanwhile, Gin has secret motives hidden behind his strong loyalty to Aizen, but still feels the archetype of aligning with the villain for personal motivations. Saga and Aizen, however, both exploit their subordinates' ignorance, morality, and trauma. They are key pieces on the chessboard, but in Saga's hands or Aizen's hands, Aphrodite, Death Mask, Tozen, and Gin are just pawns meant to be discarded. Saint Seiya and Bleach equally show a lot of heart in storytelling, walking the line between deeply motivated emotional characters who are not afraid to cry, and then switching it on to become powerful saints and Shinigami, warriors who can make the three worlds tremble or consume the power of a universe. Saint Seiya and Bleach, they may sound simple on paper, but in a graveyard filled with battle shonen after battle shonen, cut short or just barely getting started, that type of balance is very rare to find. And don't get me wrong, we all stand on the shoulders of somebody else, and Bleach definitely stands out on its own and has made its own legacy. But from its amazing music, character designs, down to the Sanctuary-inspired, award-winning Soul Society arc, the blueprint is Saint Seiya. That is the secret sauce. Saint Seiya is a titan among manga and anime. Living in the United States, we weren't originally blessed with this release, but if you ask anyone from South America, their obsession and passion tells you exactly what we missed out on. But the blessing is that I get to experience them both right now at the same time. Bleach, with the Shinigami, Bunkai, Hollows, Vizard, and Quincy, has reached heights Saint Seiya couldn't. But knowing those original ingredients are at the center is enough for a vintage anime fan like me to be satisfied. And if you made it this far, leave some manga or anime recommendations you would like to see me do analysis on. I've added some One Piece content to go along with my Bleach content, and I'm steadily filling out the channel, and more series are on the way. Once again, I'm Zaku Zealot. Subscribe, turn on alerts, stay connected with me, and thank you for watching, and peace out till next time.